Hey guys, this is an earmuff episode. That means we are talking about adult things. There will be naughty words. There will be some things that you do not want your children to hear. Just a warning.
Hey everyone, welcome back
To Mom,
Non-Mom.
I'm Jackie.
And I'm Cassie.
And today we're asking,
Do I swipe left or right?
who knows?
Let's find out together. Hi! Hey Jackie!
Hi, Cassie.
This is episode 5.
OMGZ. I can't believe it.
Me either.
Seriously.
I know. It's just flying by.
I know.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're super excited. And today, we have our first guest.
Woohoo!
Yay! Somebody wanted to join us.
Yay!
We have Holly.
Hi, sweet lady friends.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. So, Holly, you should introduce yourself a little bit first. How do you feel you fit on the mom to non-mom scale?
I typically identify as a quasi-mom. So when I meet new people, meet new friends, and they say, do you have any kids? And I say, I'm sort of a quasi-mom. That's typically been the best way, I think, to kind of, because I have an unofficially adopted 21-year-old. He came to live with me when he was 19, and I'm 39. I turned 40 this summer, but his bio mom is actually a little bit younger than me. So sometimes I get, commentary like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have a 21-year-old or whatever.
Right.
And I wish that I could just take it and not explain further and be like, yeah, I know, I'm keeping it tight. But I'm like, no, he's not my biological son, but I love him, I care about him,
Right.
etc.
Yeah, that is what matters.
Love is what makes a family.
Absolutely. I agree with that so much. And I think that's awesome that you were able to take him in, especially as a 21-year-old. I feel like not a lot of people would be willing to do that. So I think that's amazing.
So he lives with you
and... he actually is living on his own now.
Oh.
So he was living with me when he was 19.
Okay.
And he actually he lives... I don't want to say exactly where he lives.
Right,
but,
no, vaguely.
He lives about an hour away from me now.
Okay.
But he's, there was a joke kind of with my friends that I had thought about. My oldest brother is technically a foster brother. And I had thought about, getting licensed to be a foster parent or, doing some other kind of, fostering or adoption or something like that. And, was telling my friends I just think once they already know how to read and once they already know how to walk, those are two really big things.
Right.
And,
Of course.
so I think I'd be fine with adopting an older kid or whatever. And I was like, oh, and if they were a teenager, then they could help me run errands. Not really. I'm still joking. But it ended up when he came into my life, he had, he had a college scholarship. He could already drive. And so that was the thing that they were like, oh, so yeah, you just went ahead and got the deluxe model of prefab kid.
You skipped to empty nester mode.
You skipped all those steps. But I'm sure at 19 there was still teenage-ness happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of challenges that I think, most of them he blows my mind that he has just expertly navigated so many of them. And for example, he's on the autism spectrum. His bio mom kicked him out because he's trans. He came out as trans to his mom, right when he was 19. Right. Before he came out as trans and, was still living as a woman. He had come out as a lesbian, and I think that his bio mom was kind of more okay with that, okay with gay but not trans. Right. So yeah, he's a really extraordinary person and a really loving person. And I know it's really cliche to say, but I've learned so much about myself, and there were so many things that I hadn't thought about in years, that took me back to when I was 19. And there were some like funny, what's the word? Not circumstances, but
instances.
Yeah, like instances, like anyway. So okay, like
what is? I'm trying to think of it. I know. I'm also trying to think of the word.
So okay, one of the things that we had to deal with was he wanted a dog, and when I was 19, I took in a dog that I basically had no business taking in. And, I was like, I don't understand why this is so important to you. And, like, I love dogs, and, I wish that we could take this dog in, but, I was... because what happened with my dog that I got when I was 19, she spent the last couple years of her life with my parents. And, there was like a lot of stuff along the way that like when she had really expensive vet bills, or like, if I went on a trip or something like that, like I was living close to my parents at that point in time. So like she could always go with them. And so like I was envisioning like, being my parents' role with the dog that he wanted, and I was like, I don't actually
want a dog to be responsible for.
Listen,
here.
You can't have a dog because I don't want a dog right now. Right? Is it coincidences? That's sort of the word I was looking for.
Yeah, like parallel.
Parallel
situations.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah,
parallel situations that you were like. Excuse me, sir, I don't want to take care of this dog.
Life moments.
Yeah, but he did way better with his dog. He still has his dog.
Oh, so you gave in.
Well, he got the dog right as he was moving out of my place. And he actually trained him as a service dog.
Okay, that's cool.
Which was another thing that I was just like, you are not great at picking up your socks, so I don't understand how you think you're going to train a service dog. But he did, and my jaw was on my chest. The first couple of times that he demonstrated his dog tasking. And also, I know like a bunch of
lingo,
yeah, because there's a difference between an emotional support animal and a service dog. And there's some other categories in there, but he posts a lot of that kind of information now too. So I'm up on some of the stuff there.
Do you feel now that he's moved out that you're still kind of in that mom role?
Yes, it has changed some for sure. And I think I have had a little bit of hesitance about, calling myself his mom when I would talk to friends that have bio kids, that they've raised them, from a young age or whatever. And even friends that, had adopted or foster adopted kids that, they've raised from a younger age, which pretty much everybody is. Right. There was times that I bought him a bike because he had his stepdad's car when he first came to live with me, but the bio mom and stepdad took that back, and there was a whole thing with that
drama with that.
Baby mama drama.
Yeah, I mean, and it was
drama.
like it got
Drama.
into like the legal stuff. Oh, that was the other like funny coincidence / parallel is I had to go to jail when I was 19, and through no fault of his own, my son had to go to jail when he was 19 because of this whole thing with the car that like his bio mom and stepdad were trying to exert control over him by, reporting the car stolen, which it wasn't. And he had given, he had left the key in it for them and was, sent an email so that it was trackable to say like, this is where the car is. It's yours. Like I didn't, wasn't trying to take it. He was going without a car or a bike or anything. He was just, taking the bus around for 3 months. So if he's a car thief, he's a really bad one.
Right.
So I bought him a bike, and then it was the thing that like he was not using it as much as I thought he would. And I think one time I was grousing to a friend of mine who has, a bio toddler, and and I was like, well, hey, I bought him that bike and he just hasn't been using it as much as I want. He was like, all right, you're definitely a real mom.
Yeah, complaining about the stuff that they absolutely don't use that you spent hard-earned money on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that constitutes a mom. If that's what constitutes a mom, you were a mom.
I think it's great
that
you went into his life and contributed, and that you have that love to share. That's so awesome.
And that you stepped in. Yeah, I think that's amazing.
So y'all are sweet to say so. But I feel like in some ways it's like, I don't know, the easy level video game version because he's a really good advocate for himself. He takes care of himself really, really well in a lot of ways. Yeah. But there's still some stuff that, I'm like, well, is he, doing this or that or whatever? Like, because it's...
You worry.
Yeah. And just stuff that, like, I'm like, is this, something that he's doing or something that doesn't make sense to me because he's on the autism spectrum, or is it, maybe some part of, his trans identity that I can't, I'm cisgender, I can't, personally directly relate. And, and sometimes, or is he just being a jerk today?
Just the... early adult hormones.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of a thing with trans people that use hormone replacement therapy. I didn't
think about that.
That they say it's like second puberty because they'll take hormones, and so it's like he's growing some facial hair and like his voice has gotten deeper, and another puberty. Yeah.
12 years old again.
Another layer added onto it. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that. So,
and actually, there's been times that I have thought that because there's hormone blockers that I don't know if this is still like considered best practices or whatever, but with kids that come out really young as trans, they will sometimes put them on hormone blockers so that they don't reach puberty or go through puberty when they're like, 15, 16, whatever, so that they can wait until they're closer to adulthood or, usually they're ready to go. Like most trans kids know like from a very young age. And that's actually supposed to be like one of the markers between, gender nonconforming teens versus trans teens.
Okay.
So gender nonconforming behaviors usually appear like in, teenage years, but most trans adults will say like, no, I had, I started displaying these behaviors really, really young.
Right.
I mean, and it's not a hard and fast thing, but I actually just learned that recently. I thought it was interesting.
That is interesting.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. But when I first read about the hormone blockers, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish that I could have taken hormone blockers and delayed my own puberty until like my brain caught up to some other stuff. And I mean, I don't think it necessarily works that way.
Right.
But I was just like, oh man, that would be so nice to just not like, or to delay that until like, I don't know, just do it in
after
summertime or something like I'm just gonna, I'm going to go through puberty in the summer, like, and then I'll go on hormone blockers again. And then like, just to be able to pause it.
It's like when you can skip your period for 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
I have an IUD, so I haven't had periods in like 10 years. No, it hasn't been 10 years, but it's been a really long time and it's awesome.
So speaking of that, so do you plan on ever having any other kids have you had any other kids in your life?
I have had other kids in my life. I have my roommate now is one of my best friends, and he has a toddler, and it's just kind of one of those things that like a lot of times like we'll go get food or whatever, and there's so often if you were to see a man and a woman and a little child together, if the woman was doing a lot of the direct attention and caretaking or whatever, you probably wouldn't even notice. But when people see us out, I look like a horrible mom, even though like I'm not the mom, I'm not his mom. I love his child, But, you know, like, and sometimes he'll tease me about it, that he'll, like, if I ever start to, like, you know, play games with him or, like, try to sing a song with him, he's like, he'll be really loud and tries to embarrass me in public. And he's like, stop pretending to be a good mom. And, like, or, like, he'll be, like, carrying, like, the diaper bag or whatever and the car seat. And I'm just, like, you know, looking at him annoyed, like, come on, hurry up. And, you know, that I'm like, I need to normalize bad motherhood. Right. Because if the situation was reversed, no one would notice.
That's
you know,
true.
I mean, well, maybe with the extreme example of like carrying the car seat and the diaper bag, but like,
down.
And the other person like speed walking to the door.
Yeah,
bye.
Yeah,
see you later.
Yeah, so that's been a thing. And that's when I've dated mostly guys that, you know, have their own children, especially younger children that need, you know, more direct attention and supervision or whatever. It's like, all right, I'm normalizing bad mom.
I'm not your mom, and I'm not going to pretend I am. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
So speaking of dating,
that
really brings us to our topic today.
Our main topic.
And
the main topic today is, do I swipe left or do I swipe right? Because I don't know how that works. I've never online dated. We've talked about this before. When my husband and I got together, Tinder was not invented.
Right.
It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do. I know nothing about dating culture. And I feel like you two probably have more. I know Cassie's in a relationship. But I am like, and I am very much in a committed relationship. So I know nothing. I know nothing.
We have all three lanes right now. We've got
we
got marriage, dating, and single.
Super single.
Fellas.
or responsible ladies or non-binary
ladies.
people.
Yeah, everyone.
Anyone.
Comment on our Facebook page.
Oh my gosh. Are we Tinder?
Left or right?
But what is what? Is left good or is left bad? Is left like, no thanks, ma'am? Or
I think left is bad. Yeah.
Okay. Left is no thank you.
No thank you.
And right is like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have never dated actually without the apps and everything.
Apps?
Yeah. Because it came to be like right after I entered adulthood. So I don't remember what it was like dating beforehand. I mean, except for high school, but like that's like write a note and check yes or no, which is basically the same thing.
I know. Well, and I have the opposite experience because I've never dated as an adult.
Ever?
No, I got married at 20.
Yeah.
So I was a little baby child. But yeah, so I only remember dating as a teenager where I was like, do you want to go to the movies? Like, hang out after school? So yeah, I've never dated as an adult, fully recognizing myself as a woman. So I don't know what that's like.
So intense. So intense. I really don't think it's all it's cracked up to be. Like,
okay.
Honestly, I would...
Dating in general or just online dating?
All the above.
Okay.
I am glad that I met my guy in person, for one, and I'm glad that I have him. So, just saying that. But when I was dating, it was terrible. I just want to say
it gets rough out there for sure.
Yeah. What's your experience been?
I've probably run the gamut because I'm old and
no, you're not old.
So I've done the apps, and before that I've done online dating, and
we had to like get on the laptop and be like,
yep,
do you remember
write
Zeus?
A profile.
Zeus.
These are the ones that I've used. Tinder. I've tried Bumble. I think that I only ended up like meeting one guy in person on Bumble. And I did OkCupid was the main online dating forum that I used.
Yeah.
And I didn't really use MySpace as like a dating thing, but I mean, I was like
Did people use MySpace for dating?
I mean, kind of.
I guess now it would be considered like sliding into your DMs on the MySpace.
Okay.
I think it was a lot more private messaging.
Yeah.
And like, what's your AIM handle?
Yeah.
When you were,
ASL?
yeah. What's your AIM handle on MySpace? And then once they had your AIM, girl, they could just get in there.
Yeah.
And that creaky door, they would open up into your heart.
Open into your heart. Yes.
Friendster was like the thing when I was in
Oh my
undergrad.
gosh.
And I don't know. I went to undergrad in my hometown, essentially.
Yeah.
Like pretty close to my hometown. I knew so many people. I kind of have some social anxiety, but I didn't know that I had social anxiety until I moved out of my hometown.
Where you knew everybody. And
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And so, it was kind of I used to judge people for doing the online dating thing and was just like, well, I mean, I don't know. I just meet people and like, but when I first got on Friendster, I remember like being like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of crushes now that I kind of hadn't thought about or noticed before. But like when that medium is in your face,
Yeah.
and like you can stalk people's pictures and and stuff, and I'm like, oh, and they're into this thing that I didn't maybe I didn't know that they were into that thing, and we have that in common. Oh my gosh!
And then you can like start creating this narrative that's like, I know who you are now, like.
Yeah.
but the digital version that you know.
Have you ever thought that you liked someone and then you like add them on social media and you see what they
post and you're like, nope.
Never mind.
That's one thing on the dating apps that I kind of try to give people the benefit of the doubt if they don't have a great profile. I'm not sure that this is a good practice necessarily, but the thing is I've seen friends on there that I'm like, if this was how I met this friend, we would not be friends. Like I would never have wanted to hang out with them. Like, but I'm like, but I love so-and-so. Right. So-and-so looks like an idiot on here.
Oh my God.
And then I think the opposite is true too, that there's been times that I thought I was vibing pretty well with somebody via chat, and then when we meet in person, it's just like
gone. Well, it's because you have that delay of being able to think what you're going to type and send it and like make it perfect. It's like an email at work.
Yeah. And it doesn't, and you can't convey how you're feeling very well through text. So it's all up to the other person to interpret it. And so, if you're interpreting something a certain way, but then, you get in person and they're actually like, oh, wait a second, I interpreted all of your texts as being really sweet, but actually you're a dick.
Right.
And that's if you even get to the conversation part.
Yeah, I've heard that's a problem that ladies have.
I have never gotten an unsolicited dick pic.
I guess, is that like, do you deserve an award? For being, should we do high praise for Holly? A round of applause.
Well, I mean, should I feel insulted? I don't know.
Excuse me, sir. I feel offended actually that you didn't think I was hot enough to get a picture of your dick. Thank you.
I think so one of my unreasonable addictions is watching Dr. Phil. No, like. There's so much stuff about Dr. Phil that like I'm just like, oh my gosh, he's an idiot, or he's like, reinforcing this stupid idea or whatever. But I don't know. I got in a phase last year. I was in some kind of funk or something where like all I wanted to do when I got home from work is watch YouTube videos of Dr. Phil, maybe to feel better about my life. But he had like this one thing that was like about sexting or online dating or something like that. And he, had a guy on there that, they were shaming him for like sexting or sending a dick pic or something like that. And he was like, let me ask my audience. And it's like an audience full of women, right?
60-year-old women that are like,
he's like, all right, ladies, when is the appropriate time to send a dick pic? He didn't say dick pic, but he was like, to send a blah, blah, whatever. Dr. Phil turned for dick pic. And they're all in unison. They're like, never. And I was like sitting there thinking that I'd be like the one person in the audience go, upon request.
Well, I mean, I think that's right. Like if you ask for it.
then
right.
it's okay.
It's like, if things are elite, I don't know. I'm gonna lend my sense in here, but I know nothing. But like, I would feel like if things are
getting frisky,
and you get a little flirtatious, you get a little, and you're like, hey. Although I don't know, I don't think I'd even want that. I would never ask. I'd be like, ugh, why?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like if people want to do it to spice it up, like once they already have a thing going, then that's a different thing.
But you've never had anyone just blindly send you one.
No, I mean, I've had guys, be like, hey girl, what's up? And
and then the next message.
No, not a dick
like,
pic.
Just me?
Like, I can tell that they're testing the waters. Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, because I do feel like it is a violation. I think that it's totally inappropriate unless requested.
Right, exactly. And here is the double-edged sword. I couldn't help it. It's that women, we have to think about the revenge porn,
right?
Aspect of if you send a naked picture of yourself to someone that you can't fully trust, or then you break up, or you do trust and then you break up, and then they put it on, and they're like, "Here's your body."
Right.
Why don't men think we can't post their dick pics everywhere? Like,
well, interestingly, one of my dear friends and former roommates, whenever she got an unsolicited dick pic,
did she ask for money?
She would return it. She would re-gift a former dick pic, unsolicited dick pic.
That's better. I read an article about this girl. Anytime she'd get one, she'd send like a Venmo request for like 5 minutes of my time wasted.
Emotional scarring that I now.
I've seen the people do a thing where they'll find the guy's mom on social media, and sometimes
because it's
or just report it or just be like, hey, is this your son?
Excuse me, ma'am, is this your grown son's penis? Because it fell into my DMs somehow.
I mean, they would start with the non-dick pic so that they wouldn't be repeating the same. But yes.
I feel like I should apologize for my family that's listening right now.
I'm really sorry.
This is the reality of what it's like out there.
Yes.
Just penises flying around the interwebs. Apparently, I'm so glad I'm married.
You should be. You don't have to deal with it.
Like, I have to do it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But there's so much stuff out there, and it's a crazy world. It's a crazy, crazy world. But that's what I was going to say earlier, is like finding the mom. It's so easy to find people too, because there's a meme on Facebook. Like, my friend sends me a guy's name and occupation. Give me 2 seconds and I'll find their whole family history. I'll be on their sister's brother's MySpace page.
I am that person for my friends. Because I'm like, one of my friends started dating someone, and I was like, what's their name? What's their first and last name? Because I will find them on my case, and I will see if they have any arrests.
My
and I will
case.
see if they have it. Yeah. And I'm like, tell me now. I will find anytime they've ever had a violation with the police.
If you're not from Indiana, I don't know if they have this.
I don't know either, but basically my case is you can see if anyone's been arrested or if they have any violation.
Yeah.
Anytime you get a ticket or anything,
free.
it is public knowledge.
Really
people.
easy to
First and
use.
last name. That's all I
Yeah.
need, and probably like county.
Yeah. So I will say one thing that I have heard is I do have a tendency to try and meet up with people that I meet online. That I'm like, okay, let's get together. Let's get coffee. Let's get frozen yogurt, whatever. And that I try to do that as soon as possible. But I guess a lot of people will chat for a really long time. But and not just with guys, but with women too. That they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you wanted to actually like meet up in person. And just because I think that you can get a better sense, of somebody like when you're
in person.
Yeah.
And I've seen that MTV show Catfish. So I would be scared of that as well. Because anyone can take a picture off of the internet and be like, this is me.
Well, that's the thing too.
You.
They do that. Like Tinder, Bumble, all of them. They will take pictures of people that have previously been on the site and have like robot accounts just to get the swipes.
Yeah, that was when I first got on Bumble. I was like, oh my gosh, all of these guys are gorgeous.
Right?
Like, and they have really good jobs. But I think, that like it was just chum that they were using to attract the sharks.
Yeah.
No.
And the algorithms that they have.
Right. So it would be, because you have to match on Bumble the same way that so both people have to swipe right on Bumble or Tinder.
Yeah.
And, so, it'd just be that, like, these model-looking guys you just assume, like, oh, I guess they swiped left on me. And so then it's like, well...
Never see them again.
Well, maybe I don't like Bumble. Maybe, maybe it's not actually as good for Bumble's bottom line as they thought it would be, priming the pump like that.
Well, but yeah, I can't believe that they have algorithms to begin with because they show you all those people first on purpose. Mm-hmm. That way it gets you into it.
Right.
It shows you the ones that have the most swipes in your area.
Oh, that is so weird.
Devious.
Ew,
Right?
it's like a weird, twisted dating, like social media
Yeah.
grossness. We are living in Black Mirror.
I was about to say that. That's where it's a rating system. And
Gross.
Man.
I don't like that. I actually hate that.
I had friends that would not use Bumble because of their algorithm and because of the way that it's presented.
Listen up, Bumble.
The concept's
some feedback.
better than Tinder because at least I think it is anyway. Because the girl initiates.
That's what I was gonna say. From what I'd heard about Bumble, it was that it was more female oriented and like the woman had to initiate any type of contact. So that way you're not hopefully avoiding any unsolicited penile pictures.
And if both parties are women, then either one of them can start.
Exactly.
So a friend of mine, when I was saying, oh, I want to try Bumble, he was like, I think that the guys that go on Bumble are kind of just like more self-assured. Like they'll like just post a shirtless pic of, their abs and stuff like that. And which I didn't necessarily see. There was like a little bit more of that than I saw on Tinder, but I don't know. It's also like, I think that my Tinder looks really different than like younger friends' Tinder because I try to date age appropriately.
Right. What? You're not trying to date 20-year-olds?
I had rules when I was on it. Like if it said like entrepreneur, I can never say that word right, but
Yeah.
If
That
it's
sounded right.
okay, all right.
That
Okay,
sounded
I
good,
said it right.
but I get what you're saying. Like
First time ever.
that means that means I don't have a job, and
Right. Or shirtless pics. I swipe on those. I'd be like, no thanks. Like, not for me.
Yeah. Not here for your shirtless pics and your jobless status. Entrepreneur just means you live with your mom.
I think,
Or you sell CBD oil.
Oh yeah, or you sell CBD oil out of your van.
Right, yeah. So his assessment, he was like, I think it's more like shallow guys on Bumble, which like there was some of that, but yeah. But when we were talking about my case, Indiana, and stalking online, or investigating online, I did have a thing too where I would report back on first dates to friends, like a mix of fellow single and partnered friends. And I'd be like, yeah, but, his credit score is what? And they'd be like, how did you find out his credit score? I'd be like, I asked. Like, I mean, it wasn't a thing where I'd be like, what's your credit score? Like the first, thing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even really trying to find out. Like,
Just conversation.
yeah, like I would be talking about like, oh, this is how much student loan debt I have, and this is, how I'm doing. I was talking about my own money moves, and then they would, kind of chime in with their stuff, and or I'd be like, well, he has this much student loan debt, and he'd be like, what? You just had one date with him, right? How did you?
Like, I'm talking about the important things right at the first date.
And it's not about money, just about responsibility.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So.
Well, and I feel like moving on after you swiped.
Mm-hmm.
How did the dates go?
I've met some really cool people on Tinder and on OkCupid, and I've had a lot of just plain friendships come from,
That's good.
guys that I, went on dates with, and, we were like, oh, we're not necessarily romantically compatible, or like we were like still kind of getting to know each other, but then maybe if I, had a date with somebody else that like it just seemed like we were, vibing a lot more or something like that, I'd be like, I think I'm going to, just try dating,
Do you feel like that's the only way to meet people now? Do you think you can still meet people in person?
I have I have a taxonomy of how to have a social life when you're in your 30s.
Oh, I'd love to hear this.
So you can either be religious or you can do improv.
Yep.
Or you can do what I call hippie sports, which includes ultimate frisbee.
Yes.
And there's a couple more. Bike polo.
Oh my gosh,
there's
yes.
It's like alt sports.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
Hacky sack?
Well, and
Is that still a thing?
I played roller derby, which I think would be considered an alt sport, and that is like an instant friendship. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whenever LGBTQ friends are like, I can't meet anybody, and like they've tried all the dating apps, I'm like, did you try Derby?
Right? Yeah,
it's
Derby.
A real thing.
Yeah, or just I follow someone on Instagram. He lives in Denver, but he was on YouTube for a long time. I don't know if you would know him, Michael Buckley, but. I follow him on Instagram, and he does all these sports, and he literally does something called gay kickball.
Yeah, kickball's another one that's like, yeah.
People play kickball still?
Oh my gosh, yeah, and it's like alt kickball.
It's a rec league, or at least for him where he lives in Denver. But I would assume that it's probably anywhere
there's a
in a
kickball
big
league
city.
here, yeah.
Yeah, or like flag football, or any type of rec sport that you could think of.
Yeah.
There's an adult version that
of
you
it.
could do like at
So
a
like
gym
anything you
or
play-
CrossFit.
Right.
Yeah.
And
volleyball. I know someone
I
here
know
in
people that play
Indianapolis
volleyball.
that plays volleyball. Yeah.
I know volleyball.
yeah.
And softball.
I did flag football when I first moved to Indianapolis because I knew like 3 people when I first moved to Indy. I was like, okay, I'm trying to meet people, and that was one of the things that I did, and I didn't really keep up with anybody from that. But it ended up that there was like Colts cheerleaders were like most of the other women on my team.
Oh,
And that's kind of
I think
cool.
they thought I was a giant weirdo, which I am, which is fine.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's been like other routes of, I don't know, activities that
just getting yourself out there.
that I found like-minded people. And I think that like my last few like serious relationships has happened because of people that I was already friends
associated with.
Yeah.
that they would slide in the DMs.
Be like,
That's how it would
hey.
start. Yeah.
That's good though. I feel like getting outside of the dating apps and really trying to find people either that you're acquainted with, like, or have a mutual acquaintance, or
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's actually data on it that basically that online dating is worth it even if, you just end up making friends, and then you might meet somebody through the person that you have as a friend. And, there was a guy that I originally met on OkCupid that he and I are still friends to this day. He's married with a kid now. But, at one point he tried to set me up with one of his friends, and he was a nice guy too. But I think that he had more of a situation than he had let, my first friend.
yeah.
Yeah, that he was kind of already in a thing.
Oh,
so
Gotcha. Because that's on there too. Like, you never know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, is this person
Really
actually
single?
in a relationship? And I'm trying to
See, that's why you got to find out the credit score really fast.
Rule number 1 of dating.
Yeah, rule number 1: ask all the hard hitting questions on the first date. What's your credit score? How much student loan debt do you have? Are you in a monogamous relationship currently?
Should you be on this site?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much out there, and it's crazy how it's evolved, and how much of our culture revolves around that.
Yeah.
Like I have friends that are getting married because they met on Tinder.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I feel like I have multiple instances of that in my life.
Yeah.
Well, and I hear all the commercials all the time for Match.com, where they have like the highest rate of marriages, and like so many million babies have been born due to Match.com.
There's movies about it.
Right?
Christian Mingle.
Yeah, I was going to say one that you didn't mention that I've had friends do is Plenty of Fish, but I feel like is that kind of like bottom barrel, like not great?
I feel like that's older generation.
I have not been impressed with like even just like when friends have like shown me like when they're swiping through that I'm just like, ooh, that's a
So
Maybe that's
I mean,
it,
and not
maybe.
just because of the pictures, but that like
interface of the app and stuff. Or
no, just people's profiles on there. A lot of times, like there's just nothing to it, or you know, it's like,
gotcha.
you know, or stuff that I'm like not into. And I guess this was like kind of a funny wrinkle when I was on OkCupid, because OkCupid has a whole interface where you answer a bunch of questions, and that's
I hated answering all the questions.
I kind of did too, but at least it was something.
Yeah.
Because I think that Tinder gets a bad rap. Maybe, I don't know, maybe deservedly so. That it's like, oh, well, this is just shallow because all you're doing is looking at the picture and then you swipe left or right. And it's like, well, no, you can put information on there about your hobbies and interests, et cetera,
Right.
and like, and you can put pictures of you doing those hobbies.
Right.
Like,
It's not just. Do you remember? Hot or not? I knew it. Yeah, Hot or Not, where it was just your picture and you either clicked hot or not. Do you remember Hot or Not, Cassie?
I don't.
That's like
Not?
Web 1.0.
Oh yeah, that's
It was,
like.
see, and that's the thing is like that was before Tinder.
Yeah.
And
Really?
so it's like that's more, you know, that's shallower than Tinder.
Oh, way
so
more.
There.
So literally it was, I think, hotornot.com. And you could post a picture on there and you could put like, Jacki, 18. And that's all the information it was. And a picture of yourself, and people would click hot or not.
Could you see your stats?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I did not
Yeah.
participate. I did.
I may or may not have participated when I was in high school. I was a not. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't remember what this I was blue, but it was like a color scheme. Do you remember? It was like blue and
Google
blue and red.
Analytics.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Okay, Siri.
Well, so that's the thing too, though. Like going back to the algorithms, like they rate your pictures, and that's another way that they input you into it.
Well, the wrinkle that I thought was funky about OkCupid was I am not a religious person, and I'm very like leftist in my political views, but like I would date somebody who like was religious if they were also a leftist, or I could date somebody who was non-religious if they like weren't a leftist. So it was like one or the other, and there like wasn't a good like way to denote that on OkCupid. So that's my main struggle, and that's why I'm alone.
Oh no.
I don't think you're unloved.
Me either. You're definitely not unloved.
Aw,
don't.
I don't really feel unloved.
Good.
Good.
I have a lot of really important relationships in my life, and and I think that that's the thing that I wouldn't want to be with somebody just to be with somebody. There's a lot of things in my life that I'm proud of and really happy about, and you know, if somebody with bad credit is going to come in and try and mess up my good credit, then I don't want that. And actually there was an article, I don't know if the study was recently released or if it just was making the internet rounds or whatever, that single childless women are supposed to be the happiest.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is one. Cassie sent me that one, and I debelirately ignored it because it does.
Jacki.
Yeah, I was like, this
It's
actually
just
makes me feel awful about myself.
That's not the point.
That's why I'm unhappy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, so do you think people are on dating sites to find happiness and forever love, or just for the hookup?
I think it really depends on the person. I think that, you know, I've heard Tinder gets the reputation of being a hookup site rather than a serious dating site. But that has not been my experience with it. But I mean, I even had as part of my profile on there, like, I'm actually looking for the real thing, and maybe Tinder is a weird place to do that. But
that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
You know, just trying to run those numbers.
Yeah.
I just need you to have a good credit score. But I guess it would depend. I don't know, but I guess it would depend on age too. Like if you're in your early 20s, you're probably not looking for someone to spend the rest of your life. I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, as someone who got married at 20, saying like you're not looking for someone to spend the rest of your life with at 20, but as versus someone who may be older and is like established. But I guess maybe not. Maybe you're dealing with like an opposite thing where people are like, actually, I've been divorced now and I'm trying to find just flings.
Yeah, I haven't been able to hit the sweet spot of the divorcees. And that they're either like, oh, I'm still getting over this, or like, I need to party for a little while before whatever.
It's all on your personal situation.
Yeah. I consider myself, I guess, an ambivert, that like I think I get, energized by being around friends and, and I do like meeting new people, but, I also need alone time to recharge. I mean, I think that's probably most people.
Love that you said ambivert, because I feel the exact same. Because I always used to classify myself as an extrovert, but there are times where I'm like, no, like I can't handle a single other person even in my space.
I need to just stare at the wall. I need to just
be in me alone in a sensory deprived chamber to then feel better. So I love that you said that, because I'm also an ambivert. Yay!
Good job, guys.
Ambiverts unite.
That's most people.
So true. Yeah. I know. Like a lot of people, because I've said that term before and people are like, what? And I'm like, it's like in the middle.
I'm an ambivert quasi-mom. That's what it says on my dating profile.
With an excellent credit score.
Well, I think that there are some things that, like, I own my house by myself, and I kind of can't imagine trying to make some of these decisions with somebody else, or like if I am going to move, like I don't have to check in with anybody about it. And when I have, been in serious relationships and kind of like getting used to that whole thing of like being considerate to somebody else, like if you're going to do it that way,
right?
I guess you could just be a jerk and not think about it.
I don't care what you say.
Yeah, I'm doing this thing whether you like it or not, and I think that's also big in a relationship. And it's not asking permission; it's checking with the other person to make sure that they're okay doing this thing.
So there's a lot of ways that I guess I have high expectations for what I want if I was going to make a commitment to someone. And so it's nice to not have to compromise that. And I definitely don't think, I have a lot of couple friends, and I am glad that I, can look to them to say, like, they share, all these, domestic chores, and they share child rearing really well, and, all that kind of stuff. And I think that I would much rather be by myself than be with somebody who wasn't going to share that stuff equally.
Add to your life.
Right.
Yeah. It has to be a net worth. I'm just sounding like such an economics person.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Well, if you have anything to say listening and you want to join, tell us your dating stories.
Yes. Please let us know. Go to our Facebook.
Instagram.
Add to my taxonomy of how to have a social life in your 30s.
Yeah. Are there things that that you can do around your area?
To meet people. I would also add regional burns, like Burning Man. That's like kind of an older crowd. And
I didn't know that they were called burns.
Burns. Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Oh, regional burns. So like people that live in your area that go to Burning Man every year, or they have?
Yeah, but there's also regional burns. Like there's one that happens in Michigan. There's one that happens in Ohio.
My mouth is wide open because my mind's blown right now. I had no idea that was a
Future
thing.
episode, we learn about regional burns.
And we go to one! No, I'm just kidding.
But to end today, Holly is going to take on our reigning champ, Jackie. On some trivia about Tinder. Tinder trivia.
Tinder trivia. We have an expert and a very much non-expert.
Yes.
Get some. I might fail at that.
Okay. And is this working where we're doing the swipe right or swipe left?
I don't even have the app on my phone right now.
Oh my gosh.
We'll just see how it goes. We'll throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
So these are going to be true or false questions.
Okay.
So swipe right for true.
Okay.
Swipe left for false.
Do it at the same time. Oh, do we have to buzz in?
You're going to buzz in.
Oh, okay.
This is official. You're going to say your name. Let's say your name.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Jackie. Sorry, I was practicing.
Okay.
I had to get a practice shot in there.
Okay. So you're going to buzz in. You just say your name.
Okay.
And that's whoever gets the most points out of 5 questions. You guys ready for this?
The pressure is on.
Holly,
I am ready.
You are the first person to play a game with us.
Yay!
My gosh,
Just a night of firsts.
I know. This is so exciting.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
Thanks again for being a guest. Let's take a moment just to thank Holly.
Thank you,
Y'all are too
Holly.
sweet.
You've been great. So win or lose, we appreciate you.
Me too.
I'm serious. I like any excuse to hang out with y'all.
Aw.
And I've been enjoying the podcast.
Yay!
So I'm not only the president, I'm also a member.
And we don't always talk in unison.
No, I don't know what just happened there several times in a row.
Synchronicity.
Yes. Okay. So, are you ready for some competition?
Yes.
All right. Holly, you ready?
Sure.
Jackie, you good?
Good.
All right. Question number 1. True or false? Tinder launched in November of 2015.
Holly, swipe left.
That is correct. It was actually September 2012.
Oh, that's
That's
much
the year I
earlier.
bought my house, and I remember Tinder being a thing.
When you bought your house.
Got to get that credit score data early.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If one takeaway we have today is that Holly wants to know your credit score.
And I'm also an expert in identity theft prevention, so do not try and steal my identity.
Don't try it.
Holly has this locked down.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Tinder was originally called Matchbox.
Jackie.
Okay.
Swipe right.
That is correct.
Tied up.
Do you think it'd be as exciting if it was called
No,
Matchbox?
Matchbox almost sounds dirty. I don't like that. I don't like it.
People would be expecting Rob Thomas.
Yeah.
Well, no, I did have a friend that didn't understand like why it was called Tinder, and I was like, "There's Tinder, and there's kindling, and then there's fuel logs." That like it's like a whole. I guess maybe y'all didn't. Either.
I didn't get it either.
I'm today years old.
Yeah, I'm today years old when I learned what Tinder meant. I thought it was like try a little tenderness or something like being
that's what I
tender
thought. It
with
was like
someone.
my tender heart.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I get it
now,
now, but
spelled differently.
oh yeah, I guess you're right. That's spelled with an E instead of an I. And I guess a flame wouldn't really do good.
Oh,
for
is that why like you get streaks with the little fire symbol?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, and
my
that's why the
gosh.
little app symbol is a fire. But they probably were trying to like play on the thing. I mean, because like Matchbox, it's like, oh, you're matching with someone, and then it's also to start a flame, right? My new flame,
Oh,
you
they're
know.
going old school.
So
Yeah.
smart.
All right.
All right.
Question 3. It's all
Ready.
tied up right now. The average user logs onto Tinder 15 times a day.
Holly,
Yes,
swipe right.
that is actually incorrect.
Oh my gosh. Upset.
To get the point, how many times do you think it is, Jackie?
Oh my gosh. Instead of 15 times a day, I'm going to go 20 times a day.
That is too much.
Too much. Okay.
Well, it's the thing because it's like you stay logged in,
Yeah.
but like do you open the app? Like you open the app.
Okay,
Actually,
How many
open
times?
the app. It's 11 times.
Okay.
So it's close. 15 is close.
Yeah.
So
Do I get the point since I was closer than Jackie?
Yeah. I would give her that point. I'd give her it.
amount is accurate was last week.
Yeah.
Also for knowing facts about Tinder's name.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You can have the point.
I was going
We'll
to say,
give
I
it to
think
you.
she gets the point.
Okay, so 2-1.
This has never happened. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So, yeah, you're still in the game, Jackie.
I know. I'm here. I'm in it to win it,
You
baby.
still have a chance.
Risk it to get the biscuit.
I am. Just going to call my name out.
All right. Tinder originally did not have the ability to swipe.
Holly, swipe left.
You are incorrect.
Oh, girl.
I will not give a follow-up question for that.
I was going to say, what do I have to guess now?
Final question. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Since it's a tie, I'm going to ask you the question, and whoever makes the guess that's closest, that is who will win.
Okie doke.
Are you ready?
So ready.
As
All
ready
right.
as I'll ever be.
What percentage of Tinder users are already in a relationship?
I'm going to say 35%.
35% from Jackie. And Holly?
I'm going to say 8%.
Ooh.
Oh, Do you want to guess again?
You have so much faith in people.
Just because you're our guest, so I'm going to give you just a little bit of
Give
leeway.
you a little bit of leeway. Do you want to guess again?
Okay, 25%.
All right.
Okay.
It's actually 42.
Whoa.
What?
So Jackie is still our champ. But you did real good, Holly. It's all right. You can join the club. I lose all the time. I've lost every game except for one, and I think that was by default.
I'm unbeatable.
I actually don't have that much faith in people, but that still is really surprising to me. And I have seen people on there
with their wives?
Well, yeah, with their wives or polyamorous people.
Yeah.
So I guess if polyamorous people are
I guess
included in that number.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I guess that would be true, but I feel like that also should be on their profile or something like that.
Most
It
of
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very frequent.
It was not on 43% of the profiles I've seen,
but yeah.
I mean, it's not uncommon.
Oh,
yeah. So.
Well, now we know.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yes. So if you're in a monogamous relationship, get your ass off Tinder. Thank you.
Yeah, that's our PSA for
If
this
the
episode.
other person in your relationship thinks that you're in a monogamous relationship.
Yeah. If you feel like being on Tinder is something you would want to hide from your partner, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
They gonna find out.
They gonna find out.
Consensual non-monogamy is a totally different matter.
Exactly.
Well, Holly, we've really enjoyed having you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and hanging
Thank
out
you
with
so
us.
much for having me. This was really fun, even though Jackie's still the reigning champ.
I know. I can't
just so
help
good.
it. I'm sorry.
No tender experience.
I know. I did. I feel like I was a sympathy. If we didn't have that last question, I wouldn't have gotten it.
And thanks for listening. We really appreciate you guys still tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you look us up on Facebook and our Instagram.
Contribute to the discussion. We love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Look for me on Tinder.
Yeah. Look for Holly on Tinder. She'll be asking
Once
for
I
your
put the
credit
app back
score.
on my phone.
Yeah.
Single, pringle, ready to mingle.
What's your credit score?
Be sure to start with that.
Yeah.
That's your opening line.
And whether you're a mom
Or a non-mom.
you're doing a great job.
You got this.
Bye.
See you next week.